I do really believe 100% from every part of me that everyone has the capacity to be able to do the things that they want and not to be held back by the mental baggage that's in our head that we want to push through.
Welcome to the Do the Thing podcast. In each episode, we get down and personal with people who go after the things they want to make all their wildest dreams come true. Join us as we unveil and dissect a formula for what it takes to do the thing. Here is your host, Stacy Lauren.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Do the Thing podcast. My name is Stacy Lauren. I recently exited a business that I owned for 20 years, and I've really just been looking for new opportunities. So I made the decision to learn to sell on Amazon. My past business was a brick and mortar business, and I really loved the concept of owning a business and having more freedom and choices. So the idea of selling on a platform like Amazon sounded like a great fit for me. I have several ideas about what I want to sell and a few brands I'm really interested in starting. It's taking a bit for the product development to get fleshed out more, and so I've been kind of in this holding pattern till those products are finished. But at the core of all of that is learning about Amazon inside and out. So when I heard my next guest on a podcast episode talking about selling wholesale products on Amazon, I had to learn more about what he was doing. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I did. I had never even heard about selling wholesale on Amazon before, and I was just so intrigued with the concept. No creating products, just buying products that are already selling really well on Amazon and becoming just another person that sells that product. So no guesswork, just a matter of knowing what steps you need to do to evaluate the products you want to resell. I reached out to him to learn more about how to do this, and he had a 4-day intensive training coming up to show how he built his business so successfully. The training was seriously one of the best trainings I've ever been to. Keep in mind, I ran a business for 20 years, and by the time I exited, I had a team of 60 people. So I've been to countless trainings, from the top-level leadership trainings to mindset, psychology, sales, and honestly, a lot. I've been to a lot of trainings. And this by far was one of the most organized, productive trainings I've ever been to. He and his team went through the ins and outs of running an e-commerce business, buying products at wholesale and reselling them. He gave tactical strategies for how to find the products, source them, and then sell them. He showed us how to do it manually and also how to speed up the process with software. It was beyond anything I had hoped for. We basically got a roadmap on how to do the thing I've been wanting to do. When I got to the training, I said I wanted to sell products on Amazon. And when I left, I said I'm an e-commerce business owner. So I basically got an entire mind shift of what I was doing by going to this training. So today, I'll be interviewing Rich Potter from FBA Wholesale Hybrid.
Hey, Stacy, how's it going?
Doing great. It's so great to have you on here.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, so to get us started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, yeah. So I'm married. I got 3 little girls. We live in Arizona. Live in Queen Creek, Arizona. And, currently I coach, teach people how to sell on Amazon. And, we have a pretty good sized Amazon business ourselves. So, feel like we've kind of learned how to do it over the last 7-8 years. And so now we're coaching and teaching people how to do it. So yeah, that's kind of, in a nutshell, what we're doing. We also have a few other things that we do. We own and run an event business, and recently started up a rental business where we're doing Turo, rental cars on Turo and Airbnbs and stuff. So we're into quite a few different things.
That is so cool. So you are literally doing the thing.
I think so. Yeah, and loving it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so the thing that just impressed me the most about you, well, honestly, I was already impressed before I even got there because I listened to you on that podcast where you were the founder of what was it called again?
Yeah, so there was, I believe it was Scott Needham, the smartest Amazon seller, the founder of Smart Scout and the CEO of iBoxer.
Yeah, and the craziest thing about that was I don't even know how I got on that podcast. I was listening to another one about private label products, and then on how to sell private label on Amazon. And I guess, you know how that algorithm happens where it automatically puts on something else, or something happened where I was listening to this podcast with you on there, and you're talking about wholesale products. And I had no idea, had never even heard about people selling wholesale products on Amazon. So it just sort of took me completely off guard with like how much I needed to still learn, you know, in order to really be successful, for me to be successful on Amazon. So yeah, it's been amazing. Number one, just to hear you on that interview and explain how it all worked. And then on the other hand, when I got to visit you in Arizona for your 4-day and getting to see your warehouse, meet your team, met your wife, it was just pretty unbelievable on how much the work that it had to take you to get there, you know, and how many things you had to overcome to be able to be in that position. So I'd love to just kind of talk about that more, you know, like more about how you got into, we'll start with the Amazon stuff, you know, Amazon in the first place, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually for us, it started with the event industry with the photo booth rental stuff. So I graduated from Arizona State back in 2007, and I went to work for a distributor of electronic components. And I worked for them for 12 years before I ended up quitting and running, you know, my own thing on full time. But back in 2014, my largest account, the company that I was managing, actually got bought out by a company in India. And, you know, being in sales, you know, probably 80% or more of my pay was commission. And so I was worried, like I said, it was my largest account. I was worried that about 75% of my income was just going to disappear overnight, and they were going to move all production to, you know, a lower cost country. Right. And so when I heard all that, I went home and I told my wife, and I was like, we got to find something else to make more money. I didn't want to quit my job and go find something else because it was a great company. I just figured like we just needed to start something on the side to start generating revenue until I could build up my other accounts and whatnot. So as we started doing some research, we kind of found and kind of fell into the event industry and ended up buying a photo booth. And so with the photo booths, you know, we provide the photo booth for weddings and birthday parties and corporate events and that sort of thing. And so that was like, October 2014, we started doing that. Within 2.5 months, we bought another photo booth and then even started bubble soccer rentals. And so the event industry for us was a fantastic start. And it quickly turned, you know, one photo booth turned into two. And, you know, today we have, 8 photo booths. We have, I think, 65 bubbles for bubble soccer rentals. And I have a full team of event staff that do all those events for us. Right. So I'm not even sure the last time I went out and did an event myself. My team does all those for us. And so that's kind of where we started our entrepreneurial journey. And then it was a year later, 2015, where I was actually just kind of scrolling through my Facebook feed, and I saw a buddy of mine that I used to wrestle with in high school. He had made a post that him and his brother were, you know, doing this Amazon FBA thing, and they were killing it on Amazon. And I, you know, at that time, I didn't even know that you could sell on Amazon. I thought everything on Amazon was purchased from Amazon, right? So
right, totally.
They made this post that they were doing, I can't even remember, it was like $40,000, $50,000 a month on Amazon. And they had gone through this launch course. And so I started checking it out. And just like you, like it was all private label focused, right? And so that was my introduction to Amazon was through private label. And so we started looking at it, and, you know, we didn't end up buying the course because it was a pretty expensive kind of launch course and all focused on importing products from China. And it just wasn't, for me at the time, it just wasn't the right fit. Right. But having worked, you know, the last, at that point, I think it was 9 or 10 years in wholesale distribution, that to me is what made more sense. And so we did end up launching our Amazon business at that time, but rather than focus on private label, we decided to contact US based brands, manufacturers, and see if we could get their permission to buy their products and to sell their products on Amazon. So, wholesale. So that's what we did. 2015 is when we started. We did $350,000 on Amazon our first year. And then by year 2, we'd grown our Amazon business to $1 million. And then it'll be 3 years here in about 3 months that I quit my job and went full time. And, we've hired staff. I've got 8 employees now, and that includes 2 virtual assistants in the Philippines. We have a 4,500 square foot warehouse, and last year we did 3.5 million, looking to do hopefully about 4.5 million this year. And so, I have an office manager, kind of like my event business. I wanted to set it up to where I could build a team of experts around me, and my team could run it for me so that I could then, focus on the next thing. Right. So I now have an office manager, Richard, who basically kind of runs my Amazon business for me with, Rome as my warehouse manager, and the 2 of them manage the staff and the growth. And I sit here at the office and kind of oversee it all. But for the most part, now I'm moving on to, we're doing car rentals on Turo. We're under contract to buy our first Airbnb. We should close here in a couple of weeks. So I'm now focused on that kind of stuff. So now I've been teaching people how to sell on Amazon themselves for about 2 years now.
I love it. You're basically getting all kinds of leverage right now because you have an amazing team behind you. Then you're able to kind of open yourself up to all these different other ways to, increase your revenue stream.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I'm not splitting myself too thin. I'm not trying to do, a million different things. I kind of focus on one. I get it nailed down. I build a team around me that then kind of takes over. And then at that point, once it's, fully functional and kind of running on its own and able to grow and sustain itself, then I kind of step out and then focus on the next thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And your team shows it. They're just all amazing human beings. So my big question is, so when you realized the job that you had, the 70% of the income was going to be going away, and you were like, okay, I think I want to do this event business. What had you decide to do that over just looking for another job?
I've always wanted, I've been attracted always to sales jobs and anything to where I could dictate my own future, my own income potential, right? Even in high school, I didn't want jobs that paid me in exchange for my time, an hourly rate, right? I wanted a job or a career that paid me based on my skill level, based on my performance. And sales was that first introduction to me, getting paid at least somewhat to where I feel like I was valued, right? And so I think it kind of got me thinking to, well, yes, sales is great. I can get paid a commission, but what if instead of an owner of a business paying me the commission, what if I got to keep all of the profit as the owner of the business, right? So for me, I saw the potential owning businesses as a greater opportunity for me than to just go find that next job, right? So I that's kind of why we did what we did. We at first started looking for a gym. We wanted to open up our own gym. My wife and I are kind of, fitness nuts. And so we kind of wanted to go that way, but it was just too expensive and too time consuming. And I couldn't do it on the side in the evenings or on the weekends while I maintained my, current income. So the event industry was perfect because we could do it on weekends. We could hustle in the evenings. No one's doing a wedding in the middle of the day on a Tuesday while I'm at work, right? They're doing Friday night, Saturday night. So I could make the money with my new business while still maintaining, my current income level. And then hopefully eventually, like we did, replace it and then surpass it so that I could finally quit my job.
Yeah. So with the first photo booth you bought, do you mind sharing how much that was?
Yeah. So, I'll tell you the whole story if you want to hear it too. We bought into a scam at first, right? So like we found what we thought was a reputable photo booth franchise. We bought the photo booth, cost me $9,500. And when it showed up, it was a piece of junk that they'd imported from China that didn't even work. Right. And they sold, I don't even know how many dozens of photo booth franchises to people all over the country at about the same time, and then like vanished. So here I am, I'm $9,500 into my first investment in my first business, and it's a total failure because the photo booth doesn't work. It's a complete scam. I ended up shipping it back to them, and then they claimed that it arrived damaged and they weren't going to refund me my money. Luckily, I insured that shipment back to them through UPS.
Oh, wow.
UPS Freight. And so UPS Freight actually ended up cutting me a check for like $6,500. It took 9 months to get that, but I got, $6,500 out of the original $9,500 back 9 months later. So, we kind of screwed up and we bought into a scam to begin with, but the idea I felt was right. So I really felt strong that we could be successful in the event industry with photo booths. And so we ended up finding another company. We did much better research. They were a legit manufacturer of photo booths. And so I then put the next, I think it was $8,500 photo booth on a credit card and said, we're going to do this. We're going to figure it out. And so within, I think it was 3 months, we had paid off the new booth and we paid off the scam booth that we had bought. And then we bought the second photo booth on credit and we hired 2 sets of employees so that our employees could run both events that we had at the same time, and we could kind of manage the events from home and from remotely, whatever, so that we could kind of work on the business rather than constantly working in it. Right. So, it was quite the 3-4 months trying to figure all that out with losing so much money on our first ever venture. But it worked out for us. We didn't give up, which I think a lot of people may have given up at that point. And had we given up, I'd probably still be sitting in my job, and like I said, it was a good job, but it didn't allow the freedoms that I have now. So I'm glad we stuck to it and didn't let that first little $9,500 failure stop us.
Yeah, you're right. So many people would have looked at that as like, okay, I'm not meant to do this or whatever. But for you, you were like so solid on this being a good plan for you guys that you decided to continue forward.
Yep. Yeah, it's been great. Of course, that business was kind of shut down for about 1.5 years during COVID. So it was a good thing we had other streams of income through COVID. Our Amazon business did incredibly well during the shutdowns and during COVID and stuff, but the event industry was all but shut down. And now we've been back up running for probably about 4 or 5 months. So it's not quite what it used to be yet, but it's heading that direction. So it's nice.
Yeah, that's great. And it kind of gave you the practice, right? With like running a team and learning the skills you needed to learn in order to be able to now this Amazon business and also the coaching business too.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think without the event business there, it really did help us figure out how to hire people, how to interview people, how to train people, and build a team of event, photo booth attendees and game masters for the bubble soccer. So yeah, it really led into how we approached our Amazon business. I know so many people try to run it by themselves. They think if they hire people, they'll be giving away too much of their money. But honestly, without the team I've built, there's no way we'd be looking at $4 million this year.
Yeah, wonderful. So, with the first photo booth, when you were investing the money before you knew you were going to get scammed, how did you figure out that was what you wanted to do? Did you look at numbers? Did you do a risk analysis? Or was it just oh, this would be fun? What was kind of your thought process?
Yeah, goodness, it's been so long ago, right? It's been 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It was something that we could start on our budget, right? We could start for $10,000. We could get a booth. So the barrier of entry was pretty low, comparatively to a gym or a franchise or whatever. It was also something that, we could work on nights, evenings, weekends. So I didn't have to quit my job or anything like that. So I think it had a lot to do with the flexibility and the just ease of entry into the industry, right? We're fortunate enough that we're in Arizona. It's, I don't even know how many millions of people live here. So it's a really big city. Lots of people come from all over the country, travel here as a destination place for weddings, for parties. There's, the Phoenix Convention Center is huge and draws all kinds of different conventions and corporate events. And so it was a perfect city to do something like that because of the amount of events that are, here, at least 8 to 9 months of the year when it's not, 115 degrees outside. But, so the market here in Phoenix was just, prime for that type of business. So, I didn't really do any sort of actual risk analysis, or I didn't even write up a business plan. I just, I looked at the market, I looked at the need and thought, there's a need here. Let's jump in and figure it out. So we kind of figured it out as we went.
Yeah, I love that because it's so easy. I've talked to other people about this too. And obviously there's some cases where it makes sense to do this full blown, business plan, risk analysis, depending on the money, right? And how much you're willing to risk. But it sounds like, you sort of, cause it's easy to get into that analysis paralysis, and so it sounds like you just dove in and said, okay, well, the worst case, it's $9,500 essentially.
Yep. The worst case is, it doesn't put us back too far. We give this a try, and I kind of stumbled into it, I think on it was Craigslist. No, it was those, what is that called? Biz Buy, where you buy businesses. So someone was trying to sell their photo booth business. And that's where the idea came from. And, I didn't want to pay that person $50,000 for their photo booth business, but I liked the idea of it. So it's kind of that's how we came across the idea to begin with.
I love that. I've actually been doing that recently with Amazon businesses that I see on there, because I'm seeing how much they're selling them for. And I'm trying to, just kind of get an idea of which ones are worth more and what they're doing. So
yeah.
It's funny to hear that. So tell me, okay, I want to talk to you more about the management side of things, because I feel like you have this natural ability, at least it appeared to me, of just managing people. And that is not as easy as people would think it would be. Man, finding the right team and managing people is probably one of the hardest things I think that business owners have to go through. And it's the easiest way to bottleneck your success, really, when you don't have a trusted team behind you, and you really mastered that. So I'm just wondering, where did that experience come from your job, or did that experience really come from the event business?
That's a great question. I don't know, honestly. I've always just kind of been a natural born leader. But, in the sales job I had, I wasn't over anybody. I had no leadership role. I wasn't a sales manager. I was just the sales guy in charge of my dozen or so accounts. So, my first experience in interviewing and managing really came from the photo booth industry. So I agree with you. Like it's tough to manage people and find the right talent and train people. And, people are always trying to leave for that next opportunity. And, then you have to start all over. It can be frustrating for sure. So it was just another one of those things. We just kind of figured it out as we went. We actually had someone slated to be our Amazon office manager, and we thought she was going to be perfect for it. Ended up that she was, not even that good of a person, right? And so we figured that out before we got our first warehouse, luckily, and let her go at about the time that we found Richard, who is now the office manager. And to be completely honest with you, like he was definitely not qualified at the time. He was just working the front desk at our local gym. We saw him every day when we went to the gym and kind of struck up a friendship with him. My wife met him first at the gym and hired him to come over and run some of our bubble soccer events. And then, he was just so reliable and such a great people person that we brought him into then doing photo booths. And then, when the time came, we had him started doing some prep and stuff with our Amazon stuff. And he was terrible at it at first, right? Like he was mislabeling stuff. He wasn't packaging things right. And we had to retrain him. And, at first, it didn't look like he would be the leader he is now. But the one thing about him is he's super like personable. And not only that, but like you only have to tell him and teach him something once, right? He's not good at it to begin with, but when you teach him and show him how to do it, like he figured it out and you wouldn't have to retrain him and reteach him. And it all just kind of worked out. We just kind of helped him build those leadership skills. And, now the kid's incredible. He's a 25-year-old kid. He's young, but no college, but the kid's awesome. And he really knows how to, organize himself and help run this team. So I think it definitely helps that I'm here every day. I haven't, stepped out so much that I'm not present, and he can, we spend at least an hour or two a day kind of running through things and him asking me questions and, me giving him constant, direction. But for the most part now, he kind of runs the show here.
Yeah, I love that. As you're talking, I'm wondering if your 3 daughters helped you because of your ability to be so patient with people.
Yeah, well, probably. I mean, God, I came from a family of all boys, and I've been blessed with 3 girls. So definitely a change from how I grew up. But yeah, those kids definitely teach you patience, and for sure.
Well, yeah, because it sounds like, it's kind of easy for you then to hire for values over skills, because you know that you have the ability to teach someone skills as long as they have the values that you hold close to your heart.
Yeah, that's exactly my hiring process, right? Like, I don't care a person's skill level, education level. To me, it's all about values. Just the type of person they are, work ethic. Because I feel like I can teach anybody just about anything, and if they're someone that learns easily, quickly, and has the right value set, then I can teach anybody a skill that, especially in the type of businesses that we run. Like I don't need engineers or brain surgeons to come do what we do. So you have the right value set, I can teach you how to be a good part of our team.
Yeah, I love that. And then okay, so now we're opening up the Amazon business. You're looking at private label. You're not wanting to spend the money on the course. And then you decided, okay, I'm going to try to contact these brands directly. Where did that come from?
Well, so I came from the world of distribution. So we would buy directly from manufacturers, the brands themselves that made these electronic components. And then we would turn around and we would sell them to our customers. And so that was my mindset for the last, 8 to 10 years doing that. It just made perfect sense to me that all these brands sold on Amazon. Why can't I just call them and ask to buy their product at wholesale and sell their product on Amazon? Right. So that's really, I think it just came from my background because, I think you alluded to it a little bit at first that when people are introduced to Amazon, they think of either private label or they think of arbitrage, going to your local store and looking for clearance and flipping that stuff on Amazon or eBay. And that's, not where I went. I didn't go either of those places because of my experience in distribution. I went straight to wholesale. So as we were thinking of launching this Amazon business, we were focused on launching a private label business first. And we were trying to go through the process of finding products and figuring out what would work. And, we hadn't pulled the trigger on anything yet. And my wife and I were sitting in front of the TV one evening watching Shark Tank of all shows. And we saw some guy pitched a product on there that is just a little like RFID card. Right. And a great product. We thought, I think one of the Shark Tank guys, one of the guys on the show even bought the business. And we looked that product up on Amazon and we were just wondering, I wonder if this sells on Amazon. And sure enough, it did. So the next day, my wife, I can't remember if she called them or if she sent them an email, but she asked them if we could buy from them directly and sell their products. And they agreed to it. So we reached out. Our success rate, which is not the norm in wholesale, but our success rate right out the gate was 100%. We got approval from the first brand we contacted, and we sold that little RFID card for probably about 3 years before they decided to take all the sales in-house and manage it themselves. But that was our first wholesale product just from watching a TV show. Made a phone call, or again, I can't remember if she called them or emailed them, but they approved us right there on the spot, and we placed our order I think that same day or the next day and started selling their stuff right away. So, and then in fact, the second product Shelly found as well from a Facebook ad. She was just scrolling through her Facebook feed, an ad popped up, and there's this little beanie with the little headlights, the little lights on the top of the beanie. And so she reached out to that company, and sure enough, they were willing to give us a wholesale account and allowed us to sell on Amazon as well. So right out the gate, 2 out of 2, and we did, I think $45,000. We started November 1st, 2015, and did $45,000 in November and December combined.
Wow.
I was just kind of off the races. After that, we kind of figured out a method to, at that time, we were using Jungle Scout to kind of data mine Amazon for us and find potential brands that we thought would be good to work with. And over the years, we've kind of crafted a pretty good search criteria that helps us, find brands more successfully. And we've since moved from Jungle Scout. Now we use Smart Scout. They're both great tools, but I prefer Smart Scout because it's just crafted. It was created by Scott Needham, the CEO of BuyBoxer. He runs a wholesale business himself on Amazon. He's doing $50+ million a year on Amazon. So he kind of knows what he's doing in the wholesale world. And that Smart Scout was just created by wholesale guy for wholesale people. So it's the perfect tool to go out and find leads for wholesale brands to work with on Amazon.
Yeah, I recently started using that too, and their team's great too. They do a whole welcome call, and I really it's been great because I learned about it through you. So it's been great just to see how many tools there are to help people, get successful.
Oh, yeah. So, the last probably 3-4 years, the industry's come a long way in providing software tools, and there wasn't a lot around when we started, but there's some great tools out there now.
Yeah, so the other thing I think you do really well is, and I'm just wondering where this comes from, is you're not just looking inside the box, you're looking outside the box. With I noticed this when I was there during your training, but then I'm also hearing it as we're talking on the phone. I'm just wondering where that comes from. How are you able to it's been with everything that you've done, really. Even from getting the UPS covers from your photo booth to, looking at the gyms, and looking at biz buy sell. And, the stuff that I noticed in the training was just mind blowing at how you're just looking at a 360-degree view of things.
Yeah, I wish I had an answer for you there. I don't know. That's just the way it's always been for me. And I think a lot of it is I like to talk through my ideas with my wife. She filters out a lot of ideas that I might throw out there. But I'm always throwing out different ideas, and I think she helps ground me and helps filter out the bad stuff so that when I do have good ideas, I can just, I think I'm really good at executing those. So, I don't know where it came from, how I got it, but that's just who I am, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're seeing something new, like even let's look at Turo, right? When you're first starting something new like that, what's kind of your thought process as you're like, okay, this could be a revenue stream? Is there something that you noticed with that?
Well, I would say I initially just try to gather information, right? Like my first, the first exercise would be to just gather as much information as possible. So I really dive deep into podcasts and YouTube videos, audiobooks. I try to look for the experts in the industry and see what they're doing and see the successes they're having, and even find reasons not to do it, right? Like speak to or listen to people who have exited the industry to see if I can figure out where they messed up. Should I not be getting into it because these people are exiting, or is it still a good opportunity because these people are exiting, right? So we had, I think, heard of Turo probably a little over a year ago, and we'd kind of talked about it. But we had a friend, actually I think it was Shelly's trainer at the gym, who he did it with one of his cars for a little while, pulled it off, didn't like the experience. But we've always kind of kicked it around. And then a month ago, I bought my wife a new car. So I bought her a new Lincoln Navigator, and her Range Rover. It's paid for, still a great car, and we decided to give it a try with this car. So we've only been doing it for a month. And so we just did it with what we had, right? So we had a Range Rover, we threw it up on there, and man, I created my Turo account and listed the Rover, and within 30 minutes got our first booking for that day.
Wow.
We had 3 hours to go detail the car, clean it out. And we hadn't even done a full clean, because I literally just bought her that Navigator, I think 2 days prior. And so, it still had all my kids' stuff in there. It's probably dirty from, my kids and all that stuff. So we had, just a few hours to get it clean and get it to the airport, drop it off, and away it went, right? So, but we've been doing that for a month. I think we're booked out for the next 2.5 weeks solid. So in 6 or 7 weeks, it's only been in my driveway for 3 days. So it's incredible, right? So the idea at first was, okay, let's use our asset, this Rover that's paid for. Let's use that asset to then generate enough income to pay for the new Lincoln payment. I think the payment on that Lincoln is $1,300 a month. So all I need is at least $1,300 a month in revenue generated from this asset I already have, and then my new liability is paid for. So it's kind of a mindset we've developed lately, is let's use assets to pay for our toys, right? So that's kind of what we're doing with the Rover now. But in 6 weeks, we've generated over a $3,600 profit from that Rover. So it is 3 times paid for my monthly liability on the new car. So, now I've spent the last probably 3 weeks diving into podcasts and YouTube videos, and, I already know the next 4 vehicles I'm going to go buy now. Doing research on Turo itself to see what what rents out real well here in the Valley. And, now I've got my eye on a little Corvette and, a couple other, there's kind of, I think, two approaches to Turo that work pretty well. You got the economy car approach, or you've got the luxury vehicle approach. And I think we're going to go luxury and go with the higher end cars that rent out for higher daily rates.
Well, yeah, and then that's fun because then you get to use the cars too.
Exactly, right? Like, exactly it. So I think I got a 2020 Ram Power Wagon that I'm actually going to trade in, and going to try to trade it in for two vehicles. And so I'm not going to have a personal vehicle myself for at least the rest of this year. We'll see what we do next year, but I'm going to go buy 3 or 4 vehicles to put on Turo. We'll have 4 or 5 total, and I'll just drive whatever's sitting in the parking lot or in my driveway, right? So if we book out 4 out of the 5, I'll make sure I block out that 5th one so that I have something to drive. But I'll get to drive these nice vehicles myself.
Yeah, I love it. That's so cool. Okay, so I'm literally like sitting here, thinking I'm trying to extract your formula for you doing the thing as we're talking. And I think we just kind of covered 2 things just from this experience, because it's cool and it's fresh because you like have such a clarity, on what you're doing. And so I think one would be like educating yourself, on like your ego's not there. You're in a learner mode, even though you're this amazing, successful, business owner. You're not like, oh, I'm too good to learn about this thing. You're like really open to what you're hearing, and you're taking everything in and consuming information. So that would be one.
Yep.
The second thing would be just, like I said, like keeping an open mind and not saying, no until you like almost see it all. Am I on track with that one too?
I think that's a great point. I would say maybe the third thing is I'm quick to make decisions, right? So I do my part in doing the research. I investigate it thoroughly, I feel, but then I don't get caught up with that paralysis by analysis. Like if I feel it's a good idea, even if I don't think I've got it fully figured out, I jump in, right? I jump in both feet. Like I don't, I've only been looking into this Turo thing and doing this Turo thing now for a month, but I'm convinced it's a great idea for me. And so I'm jumping in both feet, and I'm going to continue to do my research, but I'm going to figure it out as I go as well. And I'm not going to get hung up on the sidelines wondering when is the right time to jump in. I should have done it 2 years ago. I should have done it, or maybe next year's good. Like, no, I'm doing it now.
Yeah, I love it. And then it almost seems like another piece of your formula is that brainstorming and soundboard with your wife.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And, and then having like a sales mindset, not wanting to trade time for dollars, but also I've learned, because sales is my background too. And this actually was originally going to be a sales book. The Do the Thing started as a book concept where I was writing a book, and the editor basically was saying like, hey, like I see where you're doing the thing, but like you should talk to other people too, just to see if they have different formulas from you, because if you really want to help people overcome fear and be able to do the thing, they might not connect to everything you're saying. They might want to hear from other people, too. And originally it was going to be sales book because that's been kind of the backbone of everything, that I've done. And what I've noticed is it's not really selling. It's just the concept you learn from sales. It's kind of like what Shelly did when she contacted the first brand or the second brand, and just like, oh, I'm just going to contact them. Do you know how like that's like one of the hardest things for people to do, is what she did, where she's just like, I'm just going to call whatever she did. If she called them, emailed them, just contacting them, that concept of just like, I'm going after it,
Yep. Absolutely. Just jump in, just do it. I mean, if you get the no, I look at the no 2 ways, right? Like the no, if you get the no, you're that much closer to getting a yes. But also, like, you get the no and nothing's changed, right? You're no worse off for it, right? So, don't be afraid of the no, because you're still right where you were before, but then you're closer to the yes. And when you get the yes, it just makes a huge difference.
Man, that is huge, Rich. Like, you get the no and nothing has changed. I love that so much. I really do. It's awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm feeling, and then the other thing would be that outside the box thinking. I would think that's part of your formula because and that's part of that open-mindedness, I think, too. So am I missing anything?
No, I don't think so. I think, you're right on target. Now, this whole rental business, we want it to be, not just cars, but Airbnbs as well. So that part of it, we don't have figured out, but we get to start looking at it in a couple of weeks here once we close on our first Airbnb property. So it'll be fun.
That's so awesome. Well, yeah, and it's so fun that you guys are just already know how to be able to figure this stuff out together. So it's you almost, all these things that you've done already have been almost like practice now, for each thing. And then having the team in place to run these other businesses, is just, it's got to be just an easy way for you to know that you can, strengthen your other ideas, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One business has always led to and funded the next one, and the team. We've kind of brought the team along, and I don't think I'd go out and try to buy 5 or 6 vehicles right away like I'm going to if I didn't have the team in place already. I don't really want to be driving to and from the airport every day, but I have employees that I can pay to do it, and they're going to get paid to go drive nice vehicles, and they're pretty pumped about it. So we're bringing people along with us and paying them well, and they're becoming part of our, family. And, the next thing is hopefully next year, we're going to be launching a full-fledged prep center for Amazon wholesalers. So, and what's great about that is that's not going to be just mine and Shelly's thing. That's actually kind of the brainchild of my warehouse manager. So my warehouse manager, my office manager, and myself, we're going to partner on it. We're all going to be even owners on this, and we're going to, I'm going to go out and hopefully build a 25,000 square foot warehouse. And the three of us are partnering on this venture of, prepping for Amazon wholesaler businesses.
So I know about the prep center only from a high level view that you want to do it only because when I was there, I was like, could you guys, I saw how amazing you were at, at the shipping details and how extensive and, I don't want to use the word exhausting because for me it's exhausting, but for other people it might not be, but each detail that you meticulously care for each item. And so I know I had even asked you if you could do mine. And so we had sort of discussed it, but I didn't realize your goal with that, which is awesome. That's great. What a great way to be able to give an opportunity to the team too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not afraid of my team going out and building their own thing too, because either one, I can sit back and I can know that I helped them get there, or two, which is this case, is I can actually partner with them and help them fund it and go and do the journey with them, so hopefully they're not going to be that story of, the failed business or whatever. They can piggyback off of my experience and my expertise and even to some extent the money now. I can help fund the building. I can be that part of it. I can be the investment part of it to help build it this time, but also be there and help them, build a successful business from the very beginning. So I think the three of us together, they're not just going to be my employees now. Now they're moving into partnerships with me, which is, I think, incredible for not just them, but for me as well, so.
Yeah, it's life-changing.
Yeah, I think so. And that's, I did this we got into business ourselves to change our own lives. And now it's really cool to be able to help others change theirs too. So that's a great thing about business is, it almost becomes a bigger mission of changing lives and helping people and stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah. So what do you think has been the hardest thing for you throughout your whole journey?
Man, balancing my time probably, right? Because, I've got three girls, I've got a family. I honestly love what I do. And so I think for me, the hardest thing is like shutting it off and not being here at the office or not going into work and knowing that my team's there and they can manage it. And I think it's something I need to do better of, managing my time, focusing on my health, like spending time away and outside of this, and I think that's hard for me because I really do love what I do. And I love building businesses and growing businesses and all that. So, I'm trying to find a way. I think I've been doing a decent job of it the last month or so. But that has been a struggle for me. I used to love going to the gym and working out, and I haven't been as dedicated there as I should be, I find myself working till 6 or 7 at night, and not because I need to, just because I like it. Right. But, I need to, be more intent about stopping, and especially right now when my kids are young and being there. So, that's, I think, where I struggle, and that's where I'm trying to work on right now.
Yeah, that's amazing that you're recognizing it, because a lot of people will not notice it until, they get burnout, basically. So I think it's great that you're noticing it now. And actually, that's the whole reason I have another, I didn't even tell you about this, but I have another business I'm working on and developing a product for. It's a tactile habit tracker, but it's the concept of the company is all about rewarding yourself, because, we have such a strong hustle culture, that it's hard to be able to take that time to take care of ourselves,
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So, well, this has been amazing. I would love to see what would be your biggest piece of advice you would give to people on doing the thing.
Yeah. I've been trying to, you kind of prepped me for this a little bit. So I've been trying to think about, in the last hour here, what I would recommend. I think you just kind of need to trust yourself, trust your instincts, and honestly, just go for it. Right. I think we've identified a few steps in my processes and how I go about it. And everybody's going to be kind of different, but, take from it what you will and put it into place. But, I think one of the things I've really learned the last year or so is, where to put my money, right? Instead of buying that next toy or that next car or that next whatever, my mindset has kind of shifted to now buy something that can pay for it, right? So, if you have $10,000, instead of go and buy that toy that you want, go put it into some investment, and then I don't know what that is for you. Maybe it's the stock market, maybe it's crypto, maybe it's starting your own business. Maybe it's just buying a car and putting it on Turo so that you can rent it out and make money to then pay for that toy, right? So then investing in assets to pay for the leisure, I think, is something that I've really learned lately. So that is something that I'm trying to put into practice in my life. Is anytime I want that next toy, that next whatever it is, let's find a way to create an additional revenue source, an investment or whatever that then goes out and pays for it, so that I'm not, it's not coming out of pocket. I've actually found something that produces enough to provide that for me, if that makes sense. So.
It does. Yeah, that's brilliant advice. That is so brilliant.
Kind of where I am right now. I wish I would have known that, thought that way in my 20s. Could have avoided a lot of, credit card debt and stuff like that. But that would be kind of my advice. Yeah,
I love it. Well, I know I've mentioned this a few times to the listeners, but I had attended I had attended your 4-day intensive, and it was basically like going to Amazon College if Amazon was having a college. But I think it was even better because it was like all the shortcuts basically on how to succeed. And I feel like I almost got a quick, like I almost didn't have to pay the mistakes. Well, you didn't make mistakes actually now that I'm hearing your full story, but like I think not having the same.
There are mistakes along the way. Like, I mean, we didn't share it all, but I've made bad buys, right? You know, I mean, I've gone out and dropped $4,000 on a wholesale product that I thought was going to work, and it didn't because I didn't look at my numbers right or whatever. So, no, absolutely. There's been mistakes in the last 7 years. Those mistakes now rarely happen because we know what we know now and that we use the tools that we use. So yeah, I mean, we've tried to craft this 4-day in-person workshop kind of as like a full franchise training, right? So like if you go out and buy a franchise, you go buy a Subway or something, like they're going to send you to Subway University. You get a McDonald's, you go to McDonald's University, right? And you're going to be there for a week and go through pretty intense training on how to run the business. So that's what we've tried to do here is A to Z, like how to run a good replenishable arbitrage / wholesale business. And I think, you know, I'm proud of what we've accomplished here. I think we've done a good job in the last year and a half creating and crafting this into what it is now. So, yeah, that's exactly what we try to do, is make it so that you could avoid those setbacks. You know, you could probably learn what we're going to teach you, by trial and error, by watching some YouTube videos. And doing it yourself, right? It's going to take you 2 or 3 years. But we could give it all to you in a week too, if you want to shortcut it and get right into it.
Yeah. And it was just an amazing experience. So knowing just what it takes to put on a training like this myself, because I've done it, you know, when I had a business, or when I had my other business, but even the flash drive to the guidebook, and it's just essentially like a roadmap. So I loved it, and I appreciate the fact that I'm still able to do coaching with you also, which is also going to help me eliminate mistakes that I could have made without having your help. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind just sharing, where people can find out about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check out the website, FBA Wholesale Hybrid.com. You can email me, rich@FBAWholesaleHybrid.com. You can also join the Facebook group. All the same name, right? FBA Wholesale Hybrid. That's the name of the Facebook group as well. So join us there. It's a free group. You know, if you do decide to join the coaching or come to the in-person, you do get access to our private Facebook group where we host all the recorded videos and training in there, so that, you know, you can watch them again later and whatnot. So we do like one-on-one Zoom trainings. You can get just the one-on-one over Zoom, or you can come join us for the 4-day, which I think is the best way to do it. But, you know, I'm partial to that. So, but yeah, FBA Wholesale Hybrid. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, we're everywhere. So we're trying to build up some content there. We're pretty new at the social content game, but we're working on it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey, for having me on. It's been great.
All right, and I'll be talking to you at our next coaching.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening to the Do the Thing podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, but even more, we hope you'll be inspired to do the thing. Do you have a burning question on doing the thing that you'd like answered? How about an inspiring do the thing story of your own that you'd like to share? We'd love to hear all about it. Just leave us a voice message at dothething.callcast.co or email us at hello@dothethingpodcast.com.